All right, and we're on. Chris,
Sava,
thanks for coming on.
thanks for coming down.
You nervous?
No, I'm alright.
A little bit?
I'm alright, a little
You
bit.
alright?
As soon as you clapped, I thought, it's
on.
happening now.
It's on. You're a bit used to the YouTube life anyway. You're a bit
Yeah,
of
a little bit.
Bit of a YouTuber yourself.
I am.
Is it Boxing Brothers?
That's it, yeah. Boxing Brothers online coaching.
Online coaching, and
Yeah.
you do tutorials.
We do tutorials and essentially an opportunity to showcase like the Boxing Brothers service itself, because it's a full online service that, allows us to service athletes globally.
Yeah.
So if people want to kind of try before they buy, they can go on the YouTube channel and see the expertise before they...
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. They're really good.
Yeah, thanks, man.
They're really well produced as well. Do you do them?
I was doing them for a long time.
Just put the mic a tiny bit closer.
No worries, man.
Sorry, we're on the road today again.
How's that, bro?
Another makeshift setup. It's killer though. Have a look at the ring.
Yeah.
This boxing. Sorry, you were saying so you used to produce them.
Yeah. So I was doing the videos for a long time, probably the first whole year, and now I've found someone that does a bit of a better job than me, because it's not my thing.
Yeah.
I do the content, but editing, like man, I'm not an editor.
That's like me. That's why I don't edit anything.
Yeah.
Because I think podcast is a bit different though, obviously, because podcast, it looks nice when it's a bit raw.
And that's what's popular at the moment. That's what's popular.
It's a raw conversation, but it's a nice setting. This is probably my prettiest podcast, TJ's Premier Boxing Gym.
Yeah.
It's such a nice gym.
It is.
It looks like somewhere like Customato would have been in like the 70s and 80s. Like it's got so much character.
Definitely.
If anyone doesn't know, TJ's Boxing Premier Gym, is it in Bowden? Brompton.
Yeah.
Brompton. And you were saying before it's been here for a long time.
Long time, yeah, very, very long time. So the club was established in 1937, but initially in Tennant Creek, Northern Territory, and then in 1942 it moved here to South Australia.
Yeah.
And initially it was open in the city, in Victoria Street off Hindley Street, and it was there for years.
Fuck, what a place for a gym.
Yeah, man. And then a few years later it moved here. The old man, Tommy, TJ himself, moved the gym here, and he actually lived in this gym, by the way. This was his house. So this was a fully functioning gym like it is right now.
The setup makes a lot more sense now.
So when you go into the kitchen and there's like the kitchen set up and a bit of an office and whatever, that was he slept in there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He lived here, and he lived here for many, many years. He died in the early 90s, and he moved into a nursing home shortly before he passed away.
Yeah.
And then the gym kind of closed for a couple of years, and then a group of the boys that were training with Tommy at the time, and Tommy played quite a significant role in their lives. As
many coaches do.
Because Tommy didn't have any family at all, no children. He was an orphan.
Yeah, right.
He was an orphan born in Tasmania in 1896, which is his date of birth.
Wait, 1896?
Yeah.
And he died when?
In 1992. He was 98 years old.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And he had a life of boxing.
Yeah.
That's a good innings.
Yeah, he received the Order of Australia from the Queen.
Yeah.
A very reputable person. And when he passed away, he was an orphan, so he had no family. He never got married, never had children. So the boys that trained here were like his kids. And they looked after him like a father. Mm-hmm. And when he passed away, the gym was going to close. That was going to be the end of the legacy. And that was in 1994. And the boys that were really devout to the club and to Tommy decided to form a committee and buy this place and continue to function as a non-for-profit organisation. And that's what it continues to be to this day.
And when did you start your boxing journey here?
I did. Yep. I've only ever trained here.
At what age?
I started here in year 8. I was 12 going into 13 in 2003.
Yeah.
So been here for a long time. Started just as a student, doing the classes and being a bit of training, and then just spiraled out of control with obsession for the sport and for the club and everything.
So what year would you have started boxing?
I actually trained for a very long time before I had my first fight, because I didn't actually have ambitions to compete. I thought it was out of reach, a bit of self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt. It's daunting, yeah. I didn't think I'd be up for it because, it's a tough sport. So I just enjoyed training and keeping fit and learning how to fight and all that kind of thing. And then one thing led to another. And I had really good coaches, really strong support system, and they had a lot of faith in me, and that gave me a bit more confidence and enough confidence to do it, to fight, to have a few fights. And I never became anything special. I didn't win any state championships, but at least
you got in there.
I got in there and I did it, and I had a good fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's killer. Because I remember you posted something on Facebook once. I can't remember, it was a while ago. But you posted something that resonated with me heaps. Because growing up Greek, obviously an expectation is you gravitate towards soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's the biggest expectation.
Yeah,
so when I was growing up, I was always playing soccer. I fucking hated it. You're chasing around a ball. It's fucking cold.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a shit sport.
Yeah.
If you like soccer,
Yeah.
combat sports is better.
Yeah.
It is. But like growing up Greek, obviously you gravitate towards soccer because you go, all your cousins are playing, everyone's playing.
You're obliged to do it.
You're obliged to do it. But I always wish that my parents put me into more like a MMA. I love boxing, but I have a very big passion for MMA.
Yeah.
And it's just like all these kids now it's more of a, like we were just talking about before the podcast. Now MMA and boxing, they're not so niche. They're massive sports.
They're huge. Well, to justify, your parents' decision to put you in other sports, back then, clubs weren't accommodating for young people. Now the sport has become a lot more popular. It's in the mainstream kind of media and so forth. And clubs are catching on and they're starting to accommodate for younger people. Whereas back in the day, all you had was really karate and taekwondo. There's real traditionalist sports,
Yeah, exactly. Karate, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu was not even around. There might have been one or two clubs in Adelaide.
That's right.
Boxing, like I'm not sure how many clubs, but this was probably one of the first clubs we were saying before. You can't probably prove it, but this is probably one of the first established clubs.
Definitely.
But yeah, so when you were growing up, did you watch boxing?
Yeah, I watched boxing, I watched wrestling, I loved kung fu movies, all that. It all kind of played a subconscious role, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I just loved combat. I loved the arts. I loved used to, like, me and my brothers, we used to binge on, like, martial arts films and all the really old Jackie Chan films and followed WF and the wrestling, even though it was fake, it was just entertaining and it was physical, it was hands-on. And they're athletes.
Back in the day, wrestling was fucking insane.
Yeah, it was mental. Yeah.
They used to do some crazy shit. It's a bit different now. It's a bit like more televised for children and stuff now. But back in the day, they were doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
They put their bodies through hell.
And I train a couple of wrestlers that come here just to have a bit more ring experience and a bit of boxing to get a bit of an edge. And I've, really racked their brains. I want to know what goes on in there. And these guys are athletes, man. They've trained really hard. They're very dedicated. They're very fit. They're very strong. They put their bodies on the line. It's not all entirely choreographed, which is something like I ignorantly assumed.
A lot of it.
There's a lot of improvisation. They improvise a lot of
Yeah.
it. So there is some kind of smart to it, and a lot of the time they are getting hurt. Do you know what I mean? So you can't take too much away from these guys.
You can't fall off of a 15-metre cage onto a table on your head and not get hurt.
Or get thrown across the ring, or get slammed on the ground. It's just
so when you were growing up, was it? It wouldn't have been the golden age of boxing like Mike Tyson heavyweight gold kind of.
We kind of just
hit the tail end of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Because that would have been an amazing era to be a boxing fan.
Definitely.
Just watching that terrifying rise of still in my opinion the most terrifying combat athlete of all time, prime Mike Tyson.
Yeah. It comes with a lot of things. I think I used to look back and think, imagine living when Muhammad Ali was fighting. Imagine like being a fan when Tyson was fighting. But then I look now and I think that
it's a great era to be a fan now.
It's a great era to be a fan now. Like, the heavyweight division, the lightweight division, they're both pretty stacked divisions with some big statements being made.
We were talking on the phone briefly before, and I was saying that this featherweight division at the moment is probably the best division boxing. The lightweight division. That's
definitely.
Probably the best division boxing's almost ever seen.
Absolutely. At the moment, I think it's one of the best times that the lightweight division's ever seen. Like at once, you've got so many talented boxers in one division.
And they're fighting each other.
Yeah, they're doing it.
They're actually fighting each other, which is, it sounds like that's what should always happen.
Not in boxing.
But not in boxing. Do you know what?
In the UFC, maybe.
That's the one thing that I can see why boxing still is like, I can see why people find it hard to follow boxing, because sometimes they don't put the best up against the best, because they try and protect records, etc. Money, the promotions get a bit confusing.
That's right, because there's so many governing bodies. Yeah,
you got like Eddie Hearn, you got
all sorts,
just all sorts, and they're trying to make deals with each other. It gets very overwhelming.
A lot of politics. It's very political.
But when a fight happens and it makes sense, like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
That was it a trilogy?
Yeah.
In the end, yeah, that trilogy rejuvenated heavyweight boxing.
Yeah, it was really
because it was
good.
dead.
Definitely.
Heavyweight boxing was dead. Like Klitschko was such a good champ, and I guarantee if you showed 10 people a picture of him at the time he was champ, they wouldn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
The heavyweight boxing champ of the world, you're supposed to know who it is.
Yeah,
He's
that's
the
right.
baddest fucking man on the planet.
That's right. That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. And Klitschko, like, not many people know about him because the division wasn't booming at the time.
Yeah.
But you can't take that away from him because he did what he had to do to become a world champ at that time. I mean, if he
didn't
is
have
in
the
his
fun.
prime,
He didn't have the best fight, like the greatest fighting style either.
Yeah, it wasn't entertaining.
Yeah.
He did what he needed to do to win fights. Yeah, that's right. Which again is what you do. People say the same thing about Mayweather.
Mate, I enjoy watching Mayweather.
Yeah. He's a technician. Absolute technician.
He's a freak. Like, you throw like a 6-punch combo at him and you might touch his shoulder 3 times.
Yeah, it's hectic.
And I was watching it. Did you watch his exhibition match he had?
Not the last one he did, nah.
That, obviously it was a money grab.
Yeah.
But
that's why they're hard to watch, aren't they?
But I think he was fighting an ex-training partner.
Yep.
So he obviously knew everything about him.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to download the information.
There's no research involved.
He put on a masterclass.
Yeah.
He looked like he hadn't missed a step.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. He's
amazing. A freak athlete.
He's a freak athlete.
He's a freak athlete.
Fantastic.
And back in the day because originally he was Pretty Boy Floyd.
Yeah.
He wasn't Money Mayweather. And when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he used to throw hands.
Yeah.
But his hands, he was susceptible to breaking his hands and shit during fights. So he adopted like a real defense heavy style.
Yeah.
And he's phenomenal.
And taking the safer option for the win.
But in saying that, he made a character so people fucking hated him. So even though he wasn't going to knock people out, people were buying the pay-per-views to watch him lose.
Yeah.
People wanted that, so he figured
even his
it
fans.
Out. Yeah,
because people love seeing the underdogs come out on top and thinking, "Oh, now surely he's going to lose."
He
now
figured it out. He figured it out,
yeah.
and he got out with no brain damage.
Yeah,
that's all you can hope for.
And he knew the sport very well as well.
Yeah,
he understood the rules very well because there was a lot of controversial decisions that were made, but he didn't step outside of the boundaries of what the rule book says. So there might be some sneaky situations that took place, but he didn't break any rules. Technically speaking,
when he touched gloves with that bloke after a foul.
Who was that against? Rios? Not Rios.
Mexican bloke, I think.
Yeah. He touched gloves and the referee turned away. They touched gloves. He told him to engage and he let.
I'm not 100%.
Straight right go something like that. Yeah,
left hook straight right. I'm not certain of boxing rules, but as soon as
ethically it's off.
Yeah,
but from the outside, but technically speaking, I think I haven't seen it for a long time.
They touched gloves.
Ref said, "Yep, box."
He
and
went
then the
to
referee
go give him a hug
to consult one of the officials or something like that. The referee turned around to consult one of the officials, but that's to the referee's discretion. Like that's a responsibility of the referee, not the boxer. The boxer doesn't need to wait for the referee to be ready to watch him box. If the referee said boxed, has said box, and then his opponent, I think it was, who was it? I forget now. Anyway, his opponent went to go give him to console with him.
Embrace him, just
and
say
he said,
sorry.
"Nah, let my shots go."
Bang, bang.
Yeah, he headbutted him. That's what had caused it.
But that's how it goes.
Yeah.
It's just in all fairness, who would think of that? Who thinks that deeply to be like, he's going to fucking touch my gloves?
100%. I'll let my shots go.
That is so conniving and so smart.
Not to compare myself to Mayweather, but in one of my fights, I had a similar experience where I was up against my opponent and we were kind of bluing. It was a very messy fight. And he stopped for a moment because he thought the referee said something. And he stopped and he put his hands down. He looked at the ref. And I stopped and put my hands down and looked at the ref. So I assumed that his gesture indicated to me that the referee said something that I didn't hear. Right? He put his hands down and stopped. I put my hands down. So I looked at the ref and the referee was looking at us. And then I heard my coach go, "Go, go." So I let my shots go and I was able to land a good 1-2, like a real good 1-2. So just by following the rules, and one of the first rules that they say when they bring them together is protect yourself at all times.
Don't stop fighting until I tell you to.
Protect yourself at all times.
Yeah.
And that's what he was claiming at the end of the fight as well. Protect yourself at all times. It's a rule book, and he's right.
You need to keep going. But it's just a crazy sport, especially. Well, I don't know, but my favourite current fighter is Lomachenko, and I'm cut obviously the Ukraine war's like a different nutshell and it's more important.
Yeah.
But fuck, that would have been a good fight.
Yeah.
But seeing Kambosos, how he did against Haney, I don't think Lomachenko would have went any better.
Yeah, it's hard to say, isn't it?
It's what ifs and buts.
There's so many what ifs and buts and variables that you can.
Because I think Lopez, it was a mixture of Lomachenko not taking him seriously.
Yeah. And
having a bad night, but Lopez also having the night of his life.
Yeah. Well, he was hungry as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He was very hungry. Again, so many variables that go into it, and he went in like thinking, I want these titles, multiple at once. All it takes is that one win. And then you're like, you got 5 belts hanging off you.
But Kambosos showing the fucking true Aussie spirit where he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to fight all of them.
Yeah, that's right. He'll do whatever.
I'm going to fight
what has he got to
all of
lose?
them.
He's got nothing to lose. Yeah, he's got a perfect untouched record. Not anymore, but at the time he did. But at the same time, as a young Greek Aussie coming up in the ranks, if he gets the opportunity to fight any of these guys, it's a great opportunity.
But he fought 2 of them within. Well, it was in the same calendar year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and him and Davis would be a phenomenal fight. Gervonta, him and Gervonta would be.
Are you referring to Kambosos and
Davis?
Yeah, that's one where, as much as I'd be backing Kambosos, being like a fellow Greek Australian,
it's a bad fight.
Tank is a dangerous guy to get in front of.
And then crack.
Yeah, and then after seeing he can hit hard, he's a smart boxer, and after seeing Kambosos just completely unable to defuse Devin Haney, it gives me even less hope as to what he would be capable against someone like Gervonta Davis. I don't think that Kambosos doesn't have a chance coming back and having a crack at Devin Haney in the rematch. I really hope that he can, because there's a rematch clause, and they will fight
there
again.
Is?
Yeah, there's a rematch clause.
Oh, nice.
With Haney Kambosos. So that's going to happen again, which I'm glad.
In America.
I'm not sure how that's going to take place. I've heard different rumours, and, you can always... We don't know what the rematch clause is entirely.
The home advantage is a real thing.
I think so as well.
I think it is.
Yeah,
I think
so as well. It definitely plays a role.
Well, when you got 30 or 50,000 people cheering you rather than 50,000 people yelling at you,
didn't deter Haney.
Yeah, but you got to have a bulletproof mind.
Yeah,
that would kill me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't walk out. I wouldn't be able to walk out.
I know what you mean.
But fucking, it's insane.
Didn't deter Devin Haney though. He came and he won pretty much every single round in that fight.
He beat the shit out of him. He took 1 round off.
Do you know what I mean?
He didn't beat the shit out of. He did, but he
outsmarted him.
He's got a very Mayweather-y kind of boxing style.
Yeah, that's right.
He does.
Well, I don't know about now, but early days he was a Mayweather fighter.
He was a Mayweather prodigy.
So
I remember
he acquired that style and that smart.
He fought on the Mayweather-McGregor card.
Yeah.
In the undercard, and I was watching him, and I'm like, fuck, he kind of even looks like him.
Like, he does.
He does.
Yeah, he looks like one of his cousins.
And then Gervonta Davis he just left Mayweather.
Yeah.
I believe. But him and Haney would be a good fight.
That'd be a good fight.
But
that'd be a really good fight.
I'd have to give it to Haney.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what Haney's chin's like. Tank's probably. He's just so ferocious.
Yeah,
he's so
terrifying.
He's vicious.
He is.
He's slick.
He's very
careless.
slick.
He's not careless.
No.
So that's hard because it just depends because Haney would never even drop Gervonta.
No.
So it just depends how good.
It'll be Haney on points or Gervonta on knockout.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
It's a good fight, man. And hopefully we see it. Hopefully it happens.
But then everyone forgets about Loma.
I know.
When Loma's on, there is no better display of boxing talent.
Yeah.
There's just not one.
Technically, I agree.
And
entertainment.
Just
he's entertaining as well. The angles, the footwork.
Angles and the punches come from fucking nowhere.
Absolutely.
Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
He's put on some clinics.
Yeah, he has. And he's really triggered like a bit of a culture in the sport as well. When he was like flying high, everybody was whipping out angles.
Yeah.
Every single gym was teaching like angles and pivots and
have their box with the fucking...
Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. Like you didn't see half of that stuff on social media, and then as soon as Lomachenko was cleaning up, and you'd see breakdowns of his footwork and this and that, and everyone going off and all the drills and YouTube tutorials. It created a massive kind of series of events for people.
For those who haven't seen Lomachenko, YouTube him. He's got great YouTube compilations. One's called A Glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah.
His father pulled him out of boxing and put him into Ukrainian traditional dance for years to get his footwork on point.
Yeah.
So
And it helped.
he stopped his son boxing. It'd be like Greek dancing. I imagine it'd be very similar.
Yeah, I think it would be.
But the footwork that this person has, his balance is just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's just core balance. Like, he's just so in tune with his body. He knows exactly where to be. He knows exactly his distance management's very good.
Yeah.
But the other thing with boxing that can be a bit hard is they rely a lot on record.
Yeah.
Like with the loss next to the name.
Yeah. It's a bit of an ego trip.
Yeah, because in MMA, records aren't as important.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people have, there's a lot more ways to lose in MMA. I guess that's probably why it's more prevalent.
Yeah.
But
it's almost easier to lose.
It's easier to lose in MMA. But in boxing, you have, like, Lomachenko had like a 230 amateur fights.
I think he had more than that.
He had like
apparently he had one loss, and the guy he lost against, he came back and beat 5 times or something like that.
He's avenged every single loss in his career, I believe. I think he only has 3 or 2. But he avenged all of them except the last with Teofimo, which I reckon that fight will probably happen again.
Yeah, I'd like to hope so. It depends where Teofimo is as well. Like, I think he lost a little bit of motivation as well.
He strikes me as someone who's gonna, like, that loss will eat him a bit.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a few statements released saying that he's not done, that he wants to come back and do some damage.
What's the other one? Garcia. Does he fight anymore?
Ryan Garcia.
What's going on with him?
Yeah, he had a big layoff, and then he came back, and his return fight his style had completely changed. He's got a new coach, and his coach has kind of mixed up the way his boxing, and it didn't seem like his boxing to his strengths. And I think that if he would have come up against...
one of the fastest hands I've ever seen in his life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's very quick.
Should be relying on speed and angles.
Yeah, definitely. He was just circling around the ring and circling like back foot, very back foot kind of style of boxing. I believe at this stage anyway, if he has maybe a few more fights and catches up to speed, if he comes up against anyone else in that division that's like,
they're going to hurt him.
I think they'll do some damage.
He got dropped in his last fight, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Pretty badly as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. Time will tell, I guess. He's changing. He's got a bit of conflict with Canelo. Him and Canelo aren't getting along too well. They keep not kind of bagging each other, but he said this, he said that. If you want to talk
about one of the greatest boxers of all time,
steroids
and all doesn't matter. It does not matter. Even his last
Mexican horse meat, man.
Mexican horse meat, yeah. There was testosterone in the horse meat. Fuck,
he's amazing, man.
Is such he is the closest thing to a Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Mayweather mashup that you'll ever get.
Absolutely.
His defense is so on point.
Yeah.
His hands, he punches like a truck.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. He's coming up against Gennady Golovkin very soon for their third fight.
But he fights like 2-3 times a year.
Yeah. He's active boxer, very active boxer.
There's none of them are like that anymore.
Yeah.
He is just a testament to a true sport. Old school boxer.
Definitely.
He's a gun. And he goes up in weight. What did he start his career at?
Oh man, he's jumped away. Well, he fought Mayweather. I think he started very young.
And Mayweather made him cut.
Yeah.
Mayweather made
at the time of the fight. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did,
cut down.
Because he knew he was a threat.
Yeah, but he got him early because he knew that he was going to be a fucking menace.
That's right, yeah. And I guess that was when Mayweather was somewhat on his way out as well. That was probably going to be the only opportunity he'd have to fight him, at the peak of his career anyway. But he started very young. Canelo started professional boxing at 15, 16 years old, so who knows what weight he was at.
They got gloves on when they're 3.
Exactly right. So he's had a lot of ring experience, a lot of ring experience. And now we're seeing him, at his best. And in his last fight, coming up another division, you could see that did a bit of damage to him.
It's just too big. Yeah, just one step too big.
Yeah, probably. And his opponent used a style that was very specific to Canelo.
I hadn't actually watched the whole fight.
Yeah, real tight guard, punches straight down the middle. Didn't get emotional, didn't get carried away in the hype of the taunting and stuff like that. Just put his hands up, tucked his elbows in, chin down, walked forward.
Just boxed
and let
him.
straight punches.
Just boxed him, didn't fight him.
It was beautiful. Yeah, it was really good. So, boxing's exciting at the moment. It's very exciting. I think it will continue as well. I think it will keep getting better.
I reckon it will. I reckon it will.
I think it went through a little bit of a dip.
It had a decade. It did have a decade. And do you know what? Boxing does it to itself. It's all the commissions. It's all the dirty shit that happens behind that people can see. It's all the things that people can see that they think you can't see.
There is a threat involved. There is an upcoming threat, though. There's big talk about boxing being banned in the next Olympics, which is going to be very damaging to the sport because it lessens the credibility.
And why is that? Just from corruption?
Yep, sheer corruption, which I don't know a whole lot about. I've had some kind of, I do remember, like, I've had a couple of mates turn pro and they've shared with me some of the situations that take place. Do you know what I mean? That are quite bitter. There's a lot of money involved.
It'd be heartbreaking being a fan and hearing that, though, too.
Think about Cuba. Cuba's they produce some of the best boxers in the world, okay, for many years. And boxing was banned. Professional boxing was banned in Cuba for 60 years. Up until this year.
Yeah, right.
If I'm not mistaken, earlier this year, they lifted the professional ban on boxing in Cuba, and it was banned because of the corruption.
Yeah,
because of all the gangsters involved and the money involved and the street violence and all sorts of things. There's a lot of different conflicting factors as to why they say it was banned, but ideally it was for that reason. And it's only recently, and even then, there's only one governing body that everyone has to go through if they want to box professionally in Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba, like, puts out some freak athletes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because they fucking must feed them some testosterone when they're kids. There's this...
Third world country too, man.
Are you...
No, they're always tougher.
Are you savvy to, like, much MMA or UFC?
Not really, man. Not really.
There's this bloke called Yoel Romero.
Okay.
And allegedly, he's 48. He's probably 55 because he's from Cuba. They don't have fucking...
They don't have birth certificates.
He was an Olympic wrestler. And if you look at this bloke, he's 50 years old. There's not an ounce of fat on him.
Wow.
He is fucking huge.
Wow.
And they steroid test regularly. But one of his eyes fucked up during a fight anyway, and so the UFC sent him to a doctor for scannings and MRIs, and the doctor called the president of the UFC and he said, "Where did you find this person?" And he's like, "He's a specimen, isn't he?" And he's like, "No. His retina tissue in his eye is 5 times the size of a normal human's."
What?
Like his retina fucking like that, and his
super anatomy,
and his jaw is just like his tissue is just thicker and he's so dense.
Wow.
And he never gets knocked out. He's got no neck. You can't wobble his head.
Wow.
And he came out of Cuba and he was part of a wrestling, because wrestling's massive in Cuba. He was part of a wrestling program from a child, where they take you and they put you in like camps, so like these wrestling camps, and you live there, and fuck knows what goes on in those camps, what they're feeding these kids. Like they're...
Well, another thing as well to take into consideration, like not many people like to talk about this, but it is a thing that has happened in the past, and you'd be surprised what goes on now, because a lot of unknown that goes on as well. But there's a such thing that's referred to as like slave genes, all right, and it started all the way back from ancient Sparta. So the Spartans were renowned to be warriors. That's all they did. That was their profession, to become like athletes for killing, essentially. If a baby was born in this era and it had deformity, any kind of deformity or imperfection physically, they'd discard of it, which is disgusting.
They'd choose pick of the litter.
That's right. So they bred a warrior race purely for war, okay, to protect their country and to conquer. Furthermore, down the line, when slavery was a little bit more prevalent in the world and socially acceptable and an actual thing, when you could, trading slaves wasn't uncommon, slave masters would specifically breed.
That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so they would get specimens with other specimens and specifically breed them to create, and that's why you see a lot of these
genetic freaks.
Because, it's sad to say, but the truth of the matter is, chances are they've come from some kind of slave gene, hardship or something like that, and then you cake on top, third world experiences that they may have had growing up in the slums or whatever it is, and they're just hardened psychologically.
So what the fuck happened to me and you?
I don't know. We're silver spoon Greeks that are in Adelaide.
What happened to me and you? We're 5'5" on a good day. I look at some people that come into the gym. I just did a podcast before this. I was saying with this 25-year-old Declan, jiu-jitsu phenom, 25. fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like he's built for
it.
it.
Yeah, just built for it.
So
man,
we're not the same creature.
Nah, man. In my fifth amateur boxing bout, I tore my ACL, man. You know, it just happens, man.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it is
not
what it is.
fair.
Yeah, it just depends. It depends. Everyone's got you calling. You're a podcaster now, man. That's your
Yeah,
calling.
I know.
I've
got short legs, short arm. I got a long reach. Do you know?
It's how you use it, man. It's how you use it.
The bloke on the weekend, Alexander Volkanovski. I'm not sure if you've heard of him.
Yeah, no.
He's the UFC 145-pound featherweight champion of the world. He's Australian. He's from Sydney.
Oh, I reckon I've heard hype about him and seen highlights and stuff. Yeah,
he's in talks now after this title defence. I think he has 5 or 6 title defences. He is now in talk to be the greatest featherweight of all time. Wow. And he's probably, in my opinion, he's the number 1 pound-for-pound MMA fighter in the world.
Wow.
He is. Wow. No one talks about him, but he is Australia's most accomplished combat sports athlete.
Wow.
He's amazing.
Awesome.
He's like 5'5" or 5'6". He's about our height. He's got an 80 fucking inch reach.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's like a monkey.
He's a knuckle dragger. Like he could sit here and his hands would be touching the floor because he out jabs everyone. But everyone he fights is taller than him.
See that?
Like this bloke.
And that's genetic, man.
This bloke Max Holloway. He's half Greek, half Maso.
Oh right.
This Max Holloway that he fought on the weekend. He's a tall bloke. He's long, but Volk always was beating him to the jab.
Yeah.
And it's
keeping him off with
and that's why. And it would be so weird seeing someone our height, but they can punch you from here,
from so far away.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's very his timing's it probably fucks your timing up a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you're never just getting out of the way.
Well, you're thinking you're out of range.
Yeah.
And you're safe.
But yeah,
so
80+ inch reach.
Yeah. Wow, man.
5'5" or 5'6".
What a gun, man!
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Weapon.
Big advantage. He's chosen the right sport. He'd be a good boxer.
He's a phenomenal boxer in the US. He's great for MMA boxing. He's phenomenal. He is phenomenal because he is so quick. But
is he young?
Volkanovski would be in his 30s, early 30s.
Yeah.
So he's just hitting his prime. But he's always been a high-level athlete. He used to be a rugby player. Professional rugby player.
Yeah.
He used to weigh like 98 kilos.
Yeah.
Now he fights at 145 pounds. So what's that? It's probably like 68 kilos.
Something like that,
70 kilos. But he's just a weapon. So good. But
I'll have to suss him out.
He's so quick, but he's one of those weird athletes that still has power because you usually suffice. You can't. But he has endurance. He doesn't tire.
Yeah, right.
He's just like he's got it all.
Yeah.
No, he never tires. Has knockout power. Is quicker than everyone he fights.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal.
Wow.
After this, I'll show you some highlights from the weekend.
Definitely.
He's a freak.
Unreal, man.
He's a
That's
freak.
Good. And he's an Aussie too, which is killer.
And I was talking today when I was training. I was like, he's the most accomplished combat sports athlete to ever come out of Australia.
Wow.
Because the UFC is obviously the biggest organisation in MMA.
Yeah.
And he's now being considered one of the greatest of all time in that organisation.
Wow.
And no one talks about him. Cause I don't think he hasn't had a title defence here yet, though. That'll change everything.
That'll give him the mainstream exposure that is after. Yeah.
He just cracked the shits at the press conference yesterday. He's like, I want a title defence, but it's hard, obviously, with COVID and the restrictions here. I was surprised.
So he wants to fight here, you're saying?
Yeah. Why wouldn't he? He'd sell out MCG.
Oh, yeah.
MMA is massive here. Any combat sports event's massive here. Did you go to?
I didn't go to the Cambosis fight,
Really?
unfortunately. I really wanted to, but it just didn't happen for me, unfortunately.
Yeah. I haven't been to many big fights. I haven't been to a big boxing fight.
I've been to a few. I went to on my honeymoon. My wife and I went to America. We went and saw Errol Spence versus Sean Porter.
You were there.
I was at that fight. That was killer.
Nice.
That was a really cracker fight too. Really good fight. And we also went to and watched Gennady Golovkin versus Derevianchenko, which is another really good fight.
Did you train while you were there?
Yeah, I trained while I was there. I visited a few gyms. Went to Wildcard Boxing Gym. I trained there with Manny Pacquiao, Freddie Roach.
Did you train with Roach?
Yeah.
No
I didn't train with him, but I met him there at the gym and had a chat to him, and it was a great experience, man. I thought when we were going there, I rang up, come down and train whenever you want, kind of thing. And I thought to myself, we won't see Freddie Roach. That's Freddie Roach.
It's like a fucking
and then you walk in, man. He's just sitting there, just cruising, watching guys train,
like any
behind
bloke.
the counter,
Just
like I do at the gym. Like if you were to walk in here at night or in the morning and see me, hey, you going, man? Yeah, just like that. Just a real true person.
I watch him hit pads in the bloke. What is it? He has MS or Parkinson's.
He's got Parkinson's disease,
and he's but he still holds, and he can still hold.
Yeah, still holds perfectly fine. You wouldn't think
still hold, and he's
until he starts doing an interview. That's when you know it. Yeah,
like you wouldn't know. Like he still holds pads phenomenally.
Yeah,
and a lot of MMA fighters train with Freddie Roach.
Yeah,
he's migrated a lot to MMA fighters now as well because he loves the sport and he knows that it's kind of the hot ticket at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. And the guy's got to earn a living, man.
Same with
do you know what I mean?
Same with Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas is a massive personality in MMA now because he loves the sport.
Yeah, I've seen that. He loves it. Yeah,
I love Teddy Atlas.
Yeah, me too. He's controversial. A lot of people don't like him, but I like him.
He says it how it
is. Yeah,
he says the commissions are all fucked. Like he says it how it is.
Yeah.
People might not like him heaps because of the whole Mike Tyson thing, but it might be hard to coach Mike Tyson.
Imagine coaching Mike Tyson, man.
It'd be horrible. It's like a full-time
But people got no
job.
problem with Mike Tyson. He's apparently redeemed himself, but
he's the best.
Apparently, I'm a bit sick of seeing him myself.
He's had a pretty fucking.
Colourful lifestyle.
Do you know what though? You were saying about hardship. He came from ultimate hardship.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
and
his rise to power.
When you get that powerful and you don't have any sort of guidance, it's a recipe for disaster.
100%.
What was it?
Happens a lot too.
Customato used to take him, or Teddy Atlas used to take him to these smokers, like the smoker events where they just in a gym and they just fight.
Yeah.
Like when he was young and he was 12 and he was like 98 kilos.
Yeah. He was big. He was
fucking
a big
huge.
kid.
And they'd have to lie and say he was 21 so they could get him fights, and he was bashing everyone.
It's mental, isn't it?
It's just
one
insane.
of a kind. Again, one of a kind.
Yeah, but I still think Tyson Fury would beat him.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I reckon Tyson Fury's the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time.
Both of them in their prime.
Yeah.
I haven't
small. He's too small for the division now.
I haven't given any thought. Yeah, he is too small. The division has changed a little bit.
He'd be a light heavyweight now if he fought, and he'd clear that division out.
Yeah. That's right. Because he'd be heavy for light heavyweight. He'd be big for light heavyweight.
But he's just too small for that first Deontay. Was it the first fight that Tyson Fury got knocked out? When he got knocked down, and rose back up. He wasn't knocked down. He was knocked out.
He was knocked out, but then
he was out.
He came from unconsciousness to consciousness.
But fucking, if he did that, Deontay Wilder, I don't know if he punches hard. It's hard to say.
Deontay Wilder's a big puncher, man.
He's a big puncher, but Mike Tyson has more. He had more technical prowess. He was smarter. He was a boxer.
Yeah, he threw in volume. He threw more punches. Deontay Wilder would just line up, wait, right hand. Wait again, line up.
See, if he learnt how to throw a fucking jab and
a straight right,
if he learnt even body work, if he learnt a left hook to the body,
he'd be a weapon.
He'd be such a phenomenal boxer.
Yeah. But definitely. But I mean, we like to think that. We would like to think that if he was in the right hands, we don't know what his training's like, what his camp's like, his coaches are like.
Well, he fell into boxing pretty late.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did, and he rose to power very quickly.
It's the same as Anthony Joshua. I think he's the biggest waste of talent ever.
Yeah.
He just must crack under the pressure, I think. I think the pressure of the moment might get him.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Good amateur.
He's good. He's built for it.
Really good amateur.
He looks the part.
Yeah, looking the part's not enough. I mean, Tyson Fury, best heavyweight champion of all time, and he looks like slop there.
He does.
So, looking the part's not quite enough. There's so many different factors that play a role in this sport because it is such a lonely sport, and the spotlight is all on you. It's down to one person. Unlike a team sport where
falls a bit on everyone.
Yeah, kind of the blame is equally distributed amongst the team. There's not one person that's letting everyone down necessarily. It's more so either the club or the team or the whatever. Whereas when it's one person, there's just so many variables.
Yeah, and there's only so much your coaches for the fucking 1 minute in between rounds that you can do.
Yeah,
and
even leading up to the fight as well. There's only so much a coach can do. Do you know what I mean? A coach can do as much as they can, but at the end of the day, the fight is in there, and I've come into the gym and had a sparring session against someone and just done terribly, just gotten picked off the whole time, absolutely terrible. And then you might spar the same person 5 days later and it's a complete opposite.
Yeah.
What if that was fight night?
Yeah.
Or how many rounds did I do sparring?
That's a thing now they're doing though. It's becoming like a science now, so people are planning to peak.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure about what it was like when you were training, but
Yeah,
I think
you do. You try to peak it, absolutely.
especially with the elite levels now, they've figured it out to sciences.
Yeah.
So like they're just planning to peak, but then you can just have a fucking bad night.
That's the thing, man. You just like you can put as much science in as you want, but what about the dudes that just don't consider any of that stuff? They're just staunch, man.
But then
Kambosos has a very backyard style of training.
Does he?
He makes all his own meals. He cooks. He doesn't have a dietitian. Doesn't have
I
any
heard
nothing,
that.
Man,
his missus does all of the cooking.
They just cooks whatever's at home and does his own recovery and stuff. Like he's got strength and conditioning and whatever, but like he's simplified it to a very old-fashioned style of boxing, and it served him very well. You know,
some people don't need much. That's like Jon. You obviously you have to know what Jon Jones is.
Yeah, of course.
Jon Jones used to go on cocaine bender 2 days before the fight.
Wow, man!
And he still hasn't lost a fight.
See that, man?
Still hasn't. Youngest UFC champion of all time.
Yeah, I've actually heard of him being a bit of a nut job.
Still hasn't lost a fight. Got done for a hit and run in a car accident on cocaine with drugs in the car, and he hit a pregnant woman. Went missing for. He's a loose unit. He went missing for like 2 days. Run from the cops. Turned himself in. Had suspension for like 2 or 3 years. Came back. Hasn't lost again. He just never loses.
He's the beast.
He's gone up to heavyweight now because he's cleared out that division 3 times over. He's cleared out 3 generations of fighters.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
That's hectic, man. How old is he?
He'd still be in his he'd be early to mid 30s, and he's just moving up to heavyweight now.
Wow.
Prime heavyweight, that's his prime.
He's one of those dudes that'll be cracking it till he's 40, man.
He lost a lot of years to suspensions.
Yeah.
He lost a lot.
It happens a lot, man. Happens a lot.
It's a shame, but
it is a shame, but
with greatness comes fucking just some people just thrive in just such chaos.
Yeah.
Like that's where they need to be to thrive.
Yeah.
Like maybe if he wasn't on drugs and he wasn't so frantic and getting drunk before fights
and carefree,
maybe he would. Maybe the
wouldn't
moment
be as good
would
as
have
he is.
eaten him alive.
Yeah. Because that's a lot of the stuff. Like you might question that these sciences and like trying to peak and being so articulate about every single little detail of your training. Does that play in your mind? Oh, I didn't hit this today. Didn't hit this target. Didn't hit that target. And then you're worrying about your body fat percentage and your this and that, and you're sketching out and whatever. Whereas if you're just a bit carefree and you get in there and you just loose and relax, that's when you can really perform well. That's why a lot of the guys that we have who have novice fights here, they always ask like, oh, what should I fight at? What should I fight at? And our kind of theory is just get as fit as you possibly can. Yeah. And perform as well as you possibly can in that ring.
Fitness is key, isn't it?
Yeah, get as fit as you can, perform as well as you can, eat well, train hard, feel good, and then when you're at like a, competition level performance, we'll jump on the scales and see what you're at. That's what you're nominating at, because that's what you're best at. If we start training around the scales, then it can impinge on your performance.
What's your thought on the weight divisions? Or not the weight divisions, people cutting, say like,
it depends.
15 kilos.
Yeah, I don't
like
it, man. I don't like it.
And then blowing up in overnight and fucking coming in half dead. It's a detriment to their performance.
It is a detriment to the performance. I think even furthermore, with amateur boxing in Australia, because they don't weigh in the night before, so they don't have that time. So like the mixed martial arts and Muay Thai, same day.
In boxing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fucked. Like all my fights, I'd go weigh in the morning and fight that night. So you go weigh in at 9 o'clock, you fight at 7 p.m. or whatever.
That would deter a lot of people from trying to cut, or you'd think it would deter.
You'd think it would, but those that are cutting a lot of weight are like killing themselves, and then they're in a state of dehydration or massive fluid loss or whatever it may be, and then they're fighting that night under that. Do you know what I mean? So that's why we're not massive on it.
If you're
shaving off a little bit, it's different.
A female Muay Thai fighter from Queensland passed away about 3 years ago from a weight cut.
Yeah, it's pretty serious. Yeah, and that's a coach's responsibility. The coach needs to. They need to discern what the situation is. Some people naturally fluctuate their weight very easily. Some people retain more fluid than other people. I've got a couple of guys here that are like 1 week they're 70, the next week they're 76, and they look exactly the same. They feel exactly the same. It just depends. So you got to know your fighter. You got to know what they're capable of as well. Maybe even experiment a little bit. Like don't do it for the fight. Before that, like see can you get down to 75? Can you get down to middleweight? Let's just try it. But don't kill yourself. Just cut out, the passes and the breads and this and that, and do a bit more running. Just see how you feel, man. If they do it easily, then when it comes fight time, you can say, oh, well, we did it that time easy. Let's have a crack now, And then another option is like fighting at a bit of a catch weight, which is what I had to do most of the time because I was 60 kilos elite novice and there wasn't many.
There's not many around.
Nah, so they ended up offering, for my first fight, they go, look, I'd prepared like 3-4 times for a fight, no matchups. I was getting sick of it. My coach was getting sick of it. They offered us a guy 64 kilos. I thought, just take it, 4 kilos extra. And, that was something that we were willing to do, again, to the discretion of my coach. Because my coach could see that I'd been around the tracks for a while. I was sparring dudes that were, 65 plus kilos, pretty much all my sparring, and with no major worries. Do you know what I mean? The other guy was apparently having his first fight at the time, so you thought, you weigh up all of these things. You think, you know what, we can give away a few kilos. It's okay. Let's jump in and get this guy, Yeah,
because you see
so
some
depends,
people,
man.
you see some people, they're like 6'2", built like fucking a Greek god.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you fight at? 68 kilos.
Yeah. I know.
There's some blokes, but in the UFC and like MMA, like if you got money though, it becomes a lot easier because you can pay people to make you cut the weight, so your body can achieve some fucking crazy shit.
Yeah.
You're probably taking off some of your like power and speed, but you're fighting someone that's going to be 15 kilos lighter than you.
That's right.
So it's like, fuck, you see some people like Kamaru Usman, he's the 170 champ. He is fucking huge.
He's big.
And he makes 170 would be like 78 kilos. He looks like he walks around at 98 kilos.
Yeah, wow.
He's massive.
He's big, yeah.
He's
and that's
huge.
often the case. And he comes out on top a lot of the time. Like
He's never lost.
He's never lost. All right. So that's what I've seen as well, man. Like if
in
you've
MMA,
got two opponents,
it's different though as well because you can wrestle people. And if you got a 10 kilogram or 12
weight
kilogram
advantage.
weight advantage and you're an amazing wrestler and they're not, there's nothing
You're
they
in
can
big
do.
trouble. Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
because they use their weight to an advantage.
Yeah.
Similar in boxing, to be honest with you, man.
lean on that. You lean on
them.
them.
Or
Tyson
even
Fury's excellent at that.
in your exchanges though as well, when you're teeing off and you're having an exchange with someone that's a little bit heavier, oftentimes I beat you to the punch because they're breaking through your shots. So if you're exchanging punches and punches are clashing, because I feel that all the time if I'm sparring dudes that are bigger than me, which is more often than not, it's hard to stand there and tee off with them because I'll oftentimes come off second best because I can feel the weight of their shots behind.
Yeah.
Even if they land on my guard and they push you back.
Hurt your
hurt your guard. It pushes you back, it throws your balance off or whatever it is.
Yeah, people think it doesn't hurt when you get punched in the guard.
100%.
If you get, and even when you get kicked, when you see like a fighter get kicked in the head and they block it with their hand's fucking on fire.
Yeah, it hurts, man. It hurts. It hurts.
It's
Yeah,
on
good
fire.
block, far
yeah,
out.
good block. But fuck, if you're shelled up and someone's teeing off on you,
Yeah.
it doesn't not hurt.
No, it hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. Same with boxing, man. That's why I like, everything's a target. If they got a really tight guard and they're not giving you much, if you just throw those hands hard to the chest, to the shoulders, anything, it'll do damage.
Tell you
It'll do a lot
what,
of
though, I'd
damage.
rather get knocked out than get dropped with a body shot. I fucking hate
it's not
getting
fun.
hit with a
It's
good
not
body
fun.
shot.
Oh, yeah.
It's the worst feeling in the world. There's nothing that can teach. Like, there's no sort of training you can do.
You know what? Another good example, when Canelo went up against Bivol, the guy that he lost against just recently, Canelo started getting pretty desperate in those late rounds. So started punching him in the arm.
Really?
Yeah, if you see Bivol's arm after the fight, it's just like red and purple and swollen because he just kept, he was running out of options here. So it's smart idea. You can't get to the head, you can't get to the body.
Tire out his arms, maybe he'll drop him.
Bad, man. If you look at it after the fight, showing his arm was all red and bruised and
he punches like a Mack truck. That
yeah.
bloke.
Imagine that in your arm.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Do they fight in 12 ounce or 16?
10.
They fight in 10.
Yeah, they fight in 10.
They fight in 10s.
Yep.
Fuck, I was wondering why those gloves always look so small.
Yeah,
on
they
their
are.
hands.
They are. I mean, I don't know about that kind of. It depends. It's so many different sanctioning bodies that vary their rules and their gloves and whatever.
Does it vary for so would a heavyweight fight in 10s as well?
My understanding is yes. I may be mistaken there. My lack of knowledge might be failing me, but like for example, even on an amateur scale, we use 10-ounce gloves. We fight in 10-ounce gloves. But the 10-ounce gloves that you fight in are a different 10-ounce glove to what you'd hit the bag with, if that makes sense. So a lot of the padding is at the end of the glove, whereas you might put a 10-ounce set of bad gloves on, and a lot of the weight is in the cuff or in the actual glove, and it's the end of the glove is closer to the knuckles than what it would be on a competition glove. The competition glove, that's why I used to like putting on competition gloves because it feels like you could get a bit more reach. got like an extra half an inch behind your knuckles because there's so much padding on the end of the glove.
Yeah, I only train in 12s. I've only ever sparred in 12s.
Yeah.
Just because 16s, because I don't have the fucking biggest hand in the world. They make me feel stupid. It makes me feel like I'm wearing like a comedy kind of.
Fairtex, man.
Yeah, I used to use Fairtex. I use Twins now.
Okay. I found, Twins are very pillowy, aren't they?
Yeah,
quite large.
I'll show you. I got some in my car. I got
killer.
these pair of Twins, and they're fucking nice. But Fairtex gloves are so nice.
They're nice, and they're small inside. They're quite snug. Like I've always bought Fairtex for my 16s.
This bloke, Trevor Whitman, he's one of the great coaches of MMA. He's designed a glove, and the brand's called Onyx.
Okay.
And he's developed like a training glove that you don't even need wraps for because it's all and they cost like $500. They're all hand stitched. They look phenomenal.
They look Onyx, huh?
Onyx, Onyx.
I'll have to suss them out.
Yeah,
that sounds really good. Yeah. Smart idea. I'm surprised someone didn't come up with that sooner.
Hayabusa's also got some nice gloves.
They do, yeah. Hayabusa and Rival have some really good wrist supportive gloves.
Hayabusa got these gloves where they look like vintage leather.
I reckon I might have seen them.
They got like that real old school leather look. Like they look weathered and they look like they smell like that.
That's
you know
wild.
What I mean?
That's wild, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's killer.
I'll have to suss those out. I like stuff that can suit the gym.
So do you have any fighters coming up? Do you have any fights? Do you have any news?
Nothing huge, man. I mean, we've got a couple of lads coming up. Don't like to speak too much.
Just in case.
It's best just to train in the shadows and let it happen. But we've got a young lad, BJ's had a few fights. He's looking really good and just getting better. He's young. He's only, I think, just turned 16, if I'm not mistaken. So he started young, got good foundations, fit, good kid as well, which is an important part. That's a big part of, being a part of our community and our club and representing the gym. Being a good boxer and a good bloke as well. Because you're representing the club on all aspects.
TJ's has a very good name, doesn't it?
Like to hope so. Yeah. It does. It's got a long reigning history, and we want to continue that into the 21st century because it's going to be here a long time after we're gone. And we're trying to pass on what was given to us essentially.
And if you haven't gotten your kids into any form of combat sports, get them into any.
Yeah, definitely.
But just because it just builds confidence.
And
it's so important.
Absolutely.
And it's important to get the shit kicked out of you every now and then too.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's like it gives you...
And not be scared of a bit of contact because society today has kind of discounted the importance of it.
Even just getting used to conflict. It's good to be in...
confrontation.
And keep calm.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the best thing about probably boxing as well. Boxing's really good for it because it teaches you got to keep calm or else you're just going to get into a fight.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And there are places that are appropriate and okay to go and vent a little bit, in a non-violent way. Do you know what I mean? Because we run a massive kids program here from ages 4 all the way up to 12. And... the kids keep coming back, the parents keep enrolling them into the classes because it provides the children with an experience that they're not going to get anywhere outside of the gym. They're just not. You're not going to get the same values and experience and you can as you would in soccer or footy or cricket.
Take out a bit of anger.
Yeah, that's right, man. Especially these boisterous lads, that come in. We've got two ends of the spectrum. We've got some real boisterous lads that come in and they just need shy, something to...
And then
you've got the opposite that are really shy. And you know what? They all come into the middle. It's really nice, man. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, you get the real shy, sheepish ones, but then you give them 3-4 months and they're belting people and they're like getting a bit of confidence and you see them... getting their confidence.
That's right,
And you see the real boisterous ones calming down.
You do. So and you partner them up.
Yeah.
So they have to meet halfway, do you know what I mean?
It's good to meet people. It's a good way to meet people.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's really beautiful watching the interaction between the children because you're essentially a part of their growth as people because they're having this very unique experience where they have to make contact with somebody else in a way that they usually be discouraged to do so, but in a controlled environment they're able to do so. And they better understand what, combat is, what conflict is, what contact is. They understand boundaries a lot better. It's a very deep-rooted kind of...
And does your brother still fight professionally, you were saying?
No, so my brother just fights amateur.
Just fights amateur?
Yep. He was living in Cyprus for 5 years and just had a few amateur fights there. And
they got some good combat sports in Cyprus.
Yeah, they do.
I'm not sure if you know who Henry Hooft is.
Henry Hooft.
No. Kickboxer, menace.
Yeah, okay.
He was living in Cyprus training while I was there. He's a massive name in I believe, I'm going to get it wrong, I think he was like a K1 champion.
Right.
He's a fucking menace. And he was living and training out of a gym in Cyprus while I was there in 2000.
Is he Cypriot?
No. He's, I believe he's from Amsterdam.
Okay.
Or like that region. And he was living in Cyprus and training out of there.
Well, that Savas Michael, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes.
He's from Cyprus, so my brother was training with him a lot.
Yeah, no shit.
And he's that in one championship. He's one of the best. He's got a big fight coming up.
Zambides lives in Greece, doesn't he?
He lives in Athens. Yeah.
He lives in Athens.
Yeah. So Cyprus does, and I think there was another Cypriot fighter. I think his name was. I think it was Michael Philippou. I'm pretty sure.
Couldn't get a more Cypriot name than that.
I know Michael Philippou. He was in the UFC as well.
Yeah.
And he trained at the gym that I've trained at in Cyprus as well. There's a lot coming out of it. Considering it's a small island.
Yeah.
You know, the combat sports are pretty big there, and they love their martial arts, like their traditional martial arts as well.
They love their karate. They love their
kempo and all that kind of stuff.
Kempo karate. There's a lot of good jiu-jitsu comes out of Cyprus and Greece.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jiu-jitsu while I was there. But there's also a lot of there was a heap of Muay Thai gyms when I was there. And I did see a couple good boxing gyms too.
Yeah.
Boxing's pretty prevalent there.
Yeah, boxing, Muay Thai as well. There's one called Lumpini in Limassol by Master Kiriako, a really nice guy. And he's got a couple massive names that have come out of his gym as well. One of them is Andronikos. If you suss out his name, man, this guy's an absolute weapon.
There's some fucking weapons there.
Yeah, like dangerous dudes, there. Man. Yeah.
And there's a lot of Russians. Obviously, Cyprus is occupied by a lot of Russians. So a lot of Russian people obviously open up gyms and this and that.
The Russians have recently invested a lot in Cyprus. They've bought a lot of property and stuff like that. And it's actually one of the languages they learn in school now.
When you go to a Yadnaba.
So in Russian, Greek and English.
Yeah, the signs are in Greek, Russian, and then English.
Yeah.
Yeah. Privyet.
Yeah.
Privyet.
There's a lot of Russians and they're pretty good.
Oh, they're fucking big people though.
Yeah.
They're very stern as well. Very like you can't walk up to them and go, "How you going, cunt?" It just won't fly. It just won't fly over there.
No, they won't like it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, bro.
It's been awesome talking to you,
man.
catching up again.
Thank you so much, bro. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Easy.
Cheers, brother.
See ya.